You don't wake up one day and decide to become spiritual. You wake up because something inside you refuses to keep pretending. It starts subtle. A Sunday that feels strangely hollow. A success that should taste sweet but somehow doesn't. A silence after laughter that lasts a second too long. You can't explain it, but you know something's off. Like your life looks perfect on paper, but feels borrowed. No one warns you that awakening usually begins as boredom. Not the cute kind, the existential kind, the kind that whispers, "Is this really all there is?" You scroll, you buy, you plan the next distraction, but the whisper stays. And then one day, you stop fighting it. You let it speak. That's the moment your old world starts to crack. Truth number one, you were programmed to forget who you are. It's not conspiracy, it's culture. Since childhood, you've been fed the story of how to be human. Be polite, be useful, be realistic. Trade imagination for predictability, truth for approval, freedom for belonging. And the trade worked. You fit in. But fitting in is just another word for disappearing slowly. Every advertisement, every metric, every comparison trains your brain to doubt your own signal. So you build a life on borrowed coordinates, chasing what others chase, fearing what others fear, until one day your nervous system rejects the lie. Your body literally stops cooperating with your own mask. That's not a breakdown, that's a reboot. Truth number two, reality is an echo chamber of your beliefs. You've heard versions of that before, right? But hearing it isn't the same as seeing it. When you finally see it, it's unsettling. You realize your world didn't shape your mind shaped your world. Every judgment you held became architecture. Every emotion became climate. You were never a spectator. You were the author who forgot the plot. And here's the twist no one tells you. The universe isn't punishing or rewarding you. It's matching frequencies, like a mirror made of light and data. Anger doesn't attract bad things. It just tunes you to experiences that confirm what anger already believes. Love does the same. So does guilt. So does gratitude. You are not manifesting outcomes. You are manifesting versions of yourself that can live in those outcomes. That's when recognition turns to curiosity. You start wondering, if my reality reflects my internal state, who am I beneath all this conditioning? What happens if I stop repeating the same emotional code? What world would meet me then? And that's where the third truth hits. The one that separates dreamers from those who actually wake up. Truth number three, awakening costs everything that isn't real. It's not poetic. It's biological. Your brain literally rewires to match new awareness. You outgrow people, jobs, addictions, even versions of yourself. The algorithms that used to know you can't find you anymore. You don't click the same things. You don't laugh at the same jokes. And yes, it feels lonely, because most people are still hypnotized by comfort. But loneliness is just detox. It's the sound of your soul recalibrating to truth. The emptiness you feel is an absence. It's space. Space for what's real to finally enter. And in that space, something incredible happens. You stop seeking meaning and start radiating it. You stop asking what the universe wants from you and start realizing you are the universe wanting. Not in a metaphorical way, in an energetic, measurable, vibrational way. Science calls it quantum coherence. Mystics call it remembering. You'll just call it peace. You begin noticing small miracles that aren't really miracles at all. They're feedback loops. You think of someone, they text you, you shift your mood, the day rearranges itself. That's not magic, that's alignment. You're learning the operating system beneath existence. And maybe for the first time, you understand why ancient teachers said, the kingdom is within you. Because they weren't being poetic either. They were describing physics long before it had equations. So when you finally wake up, you don't become better. You become real. You stop chasing light and remember, you are the light. This is where comfort dies and awakening begins. Stay, or you'll never see what waits beyond the noise. Waking up sounds poetic until it happens to you. Because the first thing you realize is that awakening doesn't feel like enlightenment. It feels like loss. You don't feel elevated. You feel misplaced. Like you're standing in the same room you've always lived in, but the furniture has been rearranged while you were asleep. Your favorite conversations start to sound rehearsed. The shows you loved suddenly feel like noise. Even your ambitions, the ones that once gave you identity, now feel too small to hold your new self. You start noticing how much of your life was built to impress people who aren't even paying attention. No one tells you this part because it's messy, but awakening is demolition before it's design. It's the undoing of every borrowed truth that ever felt safe. Your ego hates it. It'll tell you you're crazy, dramatic, ungrateful. It'll try to repackage your old life as balance. But balance isn't peace if it depends on self-betrayal. There's a moment when you try to go back. Everyone does. You tell yourself maybe you overreacted, maybe you can just tone down your awareness, but you can't unknow what you now see. That's the curse and the gift of consciousness. You can't fit truth back into lies that once felt like home, and that's where most people quit. They confuse discomfort with danger. They run back to the familiar, back to the numbing scroll, the polite conversations, the safe mediocrity, because the old world may have been fake, but at least it was predictable. And predictability feels like control. But if you stay, if you breathe through the fear instead of feeding it, something extraordinary happens. The chaos starts turning into clarity. You begin seeing patterns in everything. How energy moves, how thoughts become events, how emotions are just frequencies trying to tell you a story. You start noticing that the people you attract, the jobs you take, even the timing of your coincidences, are all data points in your consciousness field. It's not random, it's resonance. You remember truth in the two. Reality mirrors belief, and now it's personal. You see that the things that once annoyed you were actually teachers. Every rejection was redirection. Every delay was protection. Every heartbreak was a breaking open. The mind wants to label them as good or bad, but the soul just sees curriculum. Nothing was wasted. Not a single mistake. You realize life wasn't happening to you. It was rehearsing you for this version of awareness. And this is where curiosity becomes responsibility. Because now you know, if your world reflects your inner state, you can't keep blaming anyone. You can't curse the mirror for showing your face. You can't pray for peace while worshipping chaos. You can't crave freedom while clinging to control. This is where real transformation begins. Not when you change your job or your partner, but when you stop outsourcing power. You start asking new questions. What emotion am I rehearsing every day? What story does my nervous system still believe? What part of me benefits from staying asleep? And the answers are brutal, but clean. You realize your triggers are just parts of you still asking for love. That self-sabotage was self-protection in disguise. That judgment was grief dressed as superiority. And that healing doesn't mean becoming positive, it means becoming whole. There's nothing glamorous about this phase. It's crying at 2 a.m. over memories that no longer fit your frequency. It's losing people who only knew the unawakened version of you. It's holding yourself through emotions you used to outsource. And it's forgiving yourself over and over for not waking up sooner. But here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to be spiritual, you finally are. Because spirituality isn't a costume, it's alignment. It's the quiet courage of living truth in a world built on performance. And when you start aligning, reality responds fast. You speak differently. You walk differently. Synchronicities multiply because you're no longer blocking them with resistance. You meet people who mirror your next chapter, not your past. You stop begging for signs because you are one. That's when you feel the click, the shift from recognition to embodiment. The difference between knowing the truth and being it. Because now, you're not chasing wisdom. You're radiating frequency. And in that frequency, the three truths stop being lessons and become lived experience. You remember, you were programmed, but now you can reprogram. You were projecting, but now you can create consciously. You lost yourself, but now you're meeting the version that was waiting all along. From here, life doesn't get easier. It gets truer. And truth is a strange relief. It stings, but it sets you free. You start walking differently in the world. You still go to work, still love, still pay bills, but the vibration changed. You're not surviving reality anymore. You're sculpting it. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop expecting and start intending. You stop chasing approval and start choosing alignment. That's awakening in motion, not an idea, a practice, not perfection presence. And each moment you live it, reality confirms it with precision. You'll see, every conversation is feedback. Every emotion is data. Every random encounter is choreography. Life was never random. You just weren't decoding it before. And when that realization lands, you feel it. That quiet joy that isn't excitement, but recognition. It's peace without reason. It's truth settling in, and it whispers, "Welcome home." Here's the part no one explains. Awakening doesn't end when you understand. Understanding is just the beginning of the next illusion, the illusion of being done. Because once you wake up, the question changes from what's real to now what do I do with it? You start seeing that truth by itself isn't enough. If it doesn't change how you move through the world, it's just another story. An awakening isn't a story. It's an operating system upgrade that keeps rewriting itself every time you live in alignment. You walk down the same street, but you feel the data differently. You notice people's energy before they speak. You sense fear hiding behind anger and love hiding behind control. It's not that you've become psychic, it's that you've become present. Presence is perception unfiltered, and presence is contagious. That's how collective awakening begins, one regulated nervous system at a time. Because the moment you start responding instead of reacting, you break centuries of inherited behavior. You stop passing down trauma disguised as personality. You become the interruption in the pattern. Maybe that's the real purpose of awakening. Not to escape the world, but to reprogram it from within. You stop fighting the system and start debugging it. You see the illusion for what it is, a collective simulation sustained by unexamined fear. And once you see that fear clearly, it loses jurisdiction over you. You begin to understand how deeply interconnected everything is. The way you talk to yourself in the morning shifts how the world greets you. Your emotional frequency influences not just your body, but the people who share your field. Science calls it mirror neurons. Mystics call it energy. You'll call it obvious. Because when your awareness expands, empathy follows naturally. You can't keep wishing harm on others once you've seen that others are you. In another costume, you can't manipulate without feeling the static in your own field. You can't ignore pain without hearing the echo in your chest. The veil drops. Separation was a convenient myth. And the moment you feel that truth, the world around you begins to reorganize. But don't mistake unity for passivity. Awakening doesn't mean becoming soft or detached. It means acting from clarity instead of reaction. It's choosing compassion not because it's moral, but because it's efficient. When you move from higher coherence, life stops wasting your energy on resistance. Everything begins to flow. The people who enter your orbit now are different. They're mirrors, not masks. They challenge you, but they don't drain you. They expand your range instead of reducing it. And the conversations change. Less gossip, more growth. Less fear, more creation. Because awake minds magnetize awake minds, you'll notice how the collective dream still tries to seduce you back. Through news, trends, fear-based marketing, and fake urgency. It will test your focus. Because the matrix isn't a place, it's a frequency. And every time you drop into anxiety, comparison, or scarcity, you're back online in the old program. But now you know the code. And once you see the code, you can write new ones. You stop saying, "This is just how I am," and start asking, "What if that's just conditioning?" You stop saying, "That's impossible," and start asking, "For who?" Language changes, and with it, reality follows. Because words aren't decoration, they're commands. Each thought a line of code. Each emotion a signal. Each choice a broadcast. That's why awakening is both beautiful and dangerous. Beautiful, because you realize your power. Dangerous, because if you don't take responsibility, that same power will amplify your chaos. So you learn emotional hygiene. You become intentional with your attention. You realize that awareness without integration is just spiritual entertainment. And then, one day, you notice you're laughing again. Not the laugh that hides exhaustion, the one that bubbles up from relief. The kind that says, "I'm here. I made it through my own illusion." You start enjoying the simplicity again. The smell of coffee, the sunlight on your skin, the absurdity of existence. Because awakening isn't an escape from the human experience. It's the ability to live it fully without mistaking it for your identity. That's the paradox. The more awake you become, the more human you feel. Not because you're back asleep, but because you've stopped resisting the dream. You understand that being awake doesn't mean being above it all. It means being with it all, consciously. You still mess up, you still get triggered, you still forget, but you recover faster. You self-correct with love instead of punishment. You notice the patterns without judging them. That's mastery, not perfection, presence repeated. And as you walk through life this way, your energy teaches louder than your words. You become proof that peace isn't absence of chaos. It's skill in the middle of it. People feel it. They don't know why, but around you, they breathe easier. They start remembering something ancient and soft inside them. That's the ripple effect of consciousness. It doesn't preach, it radiates. Awakening isn't an achievement. It's an infection of clarity. You don't spread it by talking, you spread it by being. And that's how the world changes. Not with revolutions of anger, but with quiet revolutions of awareness. One person at a time, remembering their own power, their own frequency, their own choice to love in spite of the noise. So, when you finally wake up, these three truths don't just change everything. They change you. And once you change, everything else has no choice but to follow. Because awakening isn't the end of the story. It's the start of real life. Subscribe, stay close, and keep walking with us. This is Human Wave, where awakened minds rise into a life of wholeness and fulfillment.